Hey everyone, it's Catherine with Built Room Designs, and welcome to part 1 of 4 of the making of this Viking Knit Weave chain. I'm so excited to create with you today. For part 2, we are going to be going over the Viking Knit Weave itself. I will have a link for that video in the description and pinned comment below. But for part 1, we're going to be focusing on the creation of this Viking Knit Weave tool, along with going over in detail the list of tools and materials. All right, let's talk materials. So for those of you who don't need a description on what each of these tools are, here is that list again that you can screenshot, and go ahead and move up to the 2:10 mark of this video to get started on the tutorial. Otherwise, here we go. First up, we're going to need some 26 gauge copper wire. You can also use silver or brass. Copper tends to be the easiest to work with, so we're going to use that here. You're also going to need some type of business card, or you can also use cardstock or cardboard cut down to about business card size. This is going to help you create your Viking Knit Weave tool. Next, you're going to need some type of pencil or pen. Make sure that it is round. You can also use a marker, but for this project, we're going to be using a round pencil. Of course, we're going to need our trusty wire trimmers. They can be flush, they can be regular, it doesn't matter so long it cuts some wire. And my personal favorite jewelry pliers, chain nose pliers. Fun fact, I've had this exact same pair since I was in my early teens. They've helped me create hundreds, if not thousands, of pieces of jewelry, and have definitely withstood the test of time. You're also going to need some type of pointy file, or you can use a bead reamer, which creates holes in beads. Just anything pointy is going to be your best friend during this project. You can even use some cut down 18 gauge wire if need be. And another trusty tool, your handy dandy masking tape. I'll show y'all in just a little bit what this is used for. Last but not least, we have our draw plates, or as I like to call them, pulley paddles, because it sounds a little bit more fun. I'll put my affiliate link for these down in the description along with the pinned comment, and also add a few links to the pliers and materials that you see here. Now that we've gone through the entire tools and materials list, we're going to go ahead and move on to the creation of our Viking knit chain. Before we get going on the Viking knit weave itself, we're going to create this little tool here. You don't need to buy anything fancy. We're going to walk step by step on how to create this. You're going to start with 26 gauge wire along with your business card or cardstock or cut down cardboard. I like to keep my copper wire on the spool for this part. Leads to less waste, which I'm a big fan of. I'm sure many of you all are too. So we're going to start by putting the tail end of the wire itself at the edge of the business card. We're just going to wrap this around 6 times. Ideally, you want to keep these loops lined up with each other or running parallel. You don't want them overlapping. You don't want any kinks in the wire. I promise you, you will thank yourself later. It will definitely lead to a better result when it comes to the creation of your Viking Knit Weave tool. Side note, please excuse my jeweler's nails. They have been working with a lot of wire lately, which I am extremely thankful for. So now that we've got 6 loops wrapped around this business card, we're going to go ahead and take it off of the card. As you can see, I'm moving from top to bottom, not from the middle. You definitely don't want any kinks within the wire like we talked about earlier. I should mention too that the ends from where you started to where you ended need to be on the same side. So just those loose ends need to be on the same side. We're going to go ahead and take our wire cutters and cut that right off, just lined up with the loops or the other loose end. Okay, we're going to move on to what I like to call our flower making portion. We're going to take our chain nose pliers, and you're going to want to grab a 1/4 inch above the end with the loose wires. And we're just going to start twisting that around. And you want these to be very secure, very, very tight twist. I don't feel like we quite got enough on there, so I just moved my pliers down a bit, twisted just a little bit more. And this is what it should look like. You may have some loose ends poking out. You are more than welcome to use your wire cutters to cut those off. What I typically do is just twist those around the already twisty part. It just gives it a little extra security. And now it's flower making time, y'all. So we're going to untwist those loops just a touch. And we're going to separate them. This will be the top of your Viking knit chain tool. This does get a little bit tricky. If you notice, the loops are not too loopy, they're not too wide, they're pretty narrow, and you want them to be pretty well all the same length. And now we're finished with our beautiful forever flower. We're just going to go around and ensure that the spacing is even. In some capacity, it does not have to be exact. Don't worry about that too much. This is just helpful for when you put this little flowery part at the eraser part of the pencil, which you will see also in just a few seconds. Now that we have our flower complete, we're going to grab our round pencil or pen and our handy dandy masking tape. We're going to start assembling our Viking Knit Weave tool using these three things. So you're going to take your flower that we just created and center that to either the eraser part of your pencil or the end of your pen, not the graphite end or the ballpoint. And we're going to start bringing those loops down around the pencil, keeping that twisty end centered to the eraser or the end of your pen. And you want to bring those loops down while keeping even spacing in between them. This will definitely help you whenever it comes down to taping this little portion on to the end of the pencil. And this is what it should look like, even spacing for the most part. Don't fret too much here. We're going to eventually do some adjusting to ensure that everything is evenly spaced. Now we'll get our handy dandy masking tape, rip off a 2-inch size piece. It doesn't really matter, just enough for it to wrap around the pencil, I'd say at least twice. Here we are just securing the flower to the pencil itself. You want to make sure that you are just taping the top part of the flower close to the eraser and leaving some of the loops just a little bit exposed. Really just enough to make sure that you can feed some wire through them. We're going to finish taping this off and press that tape around the pencil so that way it sticks. This may have a little bit of wiggle room. That is totally okay. If it completely pops off, we have a little bit of a problem. But aside from that, just make sure it's secure on there for the most part. Now that we have the tape secure, we're going to readjust the spacing between each of these petals, just making sure that it's even all the way around. Now this is where you should be concerned about spacing, because this is going to ensure that your Viking Knit Weave is evenly spaced all the way around. Now we're going to take our pointy tool or 18 gauge wire, whatever you prefer. We're going to pull down on each of those loops. And the reason why we're doing that is to ensure that the length of the loops are fairly even all the way around. Does not need to be perfect, but mostly even. Now this loop right here is just a little bit longer. Don't fret. I'm going to show you how to adjust that after we finish pulling down on these loops. So if you have a couple of loops that are longer, all you really need to do is twist them up. That'll shorten the length of them. You want to make sure that you keep the loop part of the loop at the end, so that way you can feed your wire through later on. And now we're going to do the final adjustment of the loops all the way around that pencil to make sure that they're all evenly spaced. Congratulations, you have finished the making of your Viking Knit Weave tool. If you've enjoyed what you've seen so far, be sure to like and subscribe so that way I can continue making videos like these for you. Also, check out the description for a special free offer and the link to part 2. I'll see you over there for the weaving portion.